Hey everybody, welcome to this week's podcast episode. Y'all, I am so excited. I woke up this morning with this word on my heart, this revelation, and I was like, you know what? Today is not a podcast recording day, but I am about to record this thing because it was just that good to me, right? So, hey Boss Lady Nation, I feel like today I'm talking to nation changers, trailblazers, people who are going to have impact and influence in this world. And I'm just so excited to just even be in a space where I can share with you guys a little bit of my heart and just a little bit of insight that I was able to receive at the wee hours of 4 a.m. this morning. But y'all, so I was laying in the bed and I was reminded of a $50 savings bond. I believe it's a savings bond. Yeah. Like it looks like a picture of $50, right? And you get it and it has like the person's name that you're gifting it to and all these things, right? And so I had never really had like a savings bond before. Someone actually gifted it to my son when he was one. And so I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is great. Like a great investment. I didn't really know how it worked. But I knew that it was $50, right? And so fast forward, maybe about 6 or 7 years later, I say, okay, we're going to go open an account for him. And so what I'll do is I'll use the savings bond, like I'll deposit the savings bond and we'll be able to, from that point, at least, he'll start off with this $50 and whatever we add in it. And so I was super excited. And when I got to the bank, y'all, actually, he might have been about 8 or 9. When I got to the bank, they told me it was like worth $11 or something, 11 or $14. Definitely not the $50 that I'm looking at on this bond, right? And so she just began to explain to me that it's like you purchase it for, maybe $10, $5 or whatever. And knowing that it's going to mature to be $50, right? So it's not quite $50 yet, which I felt like was so misleading, but out of my ignorance, right? That's out of my ignorance, right? Um, but it takes time to mature. And if I were to cash it out now or deposit it into the account to start something now, it would lose its value. And I will only be able to get whatever it's currently worth. Um, and so I woke up this morning with that imagery in my mind. And I began to think of a couple of things, right? I began to think of how we do life. And so I'm just going to be, honest, right? I'm going to start out with the topic of like marriage or relationships, right? And so the first thing I thought about was how almost like seeing that $50 certificate bond, you get into a relationship or a partnership and you see this $50, like you see the value, you see how great it looks in the beginning, you see all of the potential, you see where it could go, you have these big dreams, hopes and visions for this thing, and you're seeing this bright crispy $50 in front of you, but you have no idea that right now where it stands, where it is, it's not that, it does not have the $50 value. It has not manifested or grown into that space that you're looking for it to be, or that you envision it when you first purchase it or when you first get it or receive it or make that decision, to be in that partnership or that relationship. And so I thought about that. I thought about how you jump into things and you have this great expectation. You see this awesome value that it's going to bring. It's like right in front of you, it's very present. But a lot of times we don't count the cost for the time that things take to mature. Like that bond, it's going to take years to mature. And in between that immaturing season or that immaturing time, there is work that has to be done, right? There are some things that kind of have to take place, like patience, right? Like perseverance and persistence, right? In order for it to grow to that stage. And so if I were to, and I didn't, I decided not to cash that bond out, right? If I were to cash it out before its maturity, before it got to the place of its true value, then I would have lost. I would not have received. And in essence, I would be disappointed. Like, man, like I thought this was X, Y, and Z. And the Lord just began to speak to me about it in just like so many different ways, right? So first, let's just talk about relationship, or in my case, in marriage. You know, you see this, you have this great epic vision of like what you're going to accomplish, how your family is going to turn out, what you're going to achieve together as a couple, what you're going to do. And you have all of these great expectations, but oftentimes you don't realize the work or the growth or the maturity that has to take place before you can actually get to that spot. And so when I think about those things, I think about the level of patience that is required, right? I think about the journey, and I think about the growth that has to happen individually, you know, in order to fully be able to manifest and walk in those things that you have seen or that you expected in the beginning of that relationship. And so when I think of it that way, it's like, girl, you're trying to cash out the bonds, and it's not even ready. It hasn't fully, you haven't fully invested. The investment hasn't fully happened yet, you know? Or when you think about your business, right? Your vision for the business. We all have business plans and great vision that and things that we expect or we are aspiring to or we're going to for our vision. And oftentimes we don't see the manifestation of that because the thing hasn't matured yet, right? Hasn't gotten to its maturity point. And sometimes we can feel bamboozled or we can feel discouraged or disappointment on the way. Like when we go to the bank and we find out that no, baby, it's not $50 in here, it's only 11, then we're like, dag, but I've been at this for 7 years, or I've been at this for 6 years, or I've been at this. How is this thing? But I'm looking at this $50 certificate bond and it says 50 on it. Like it says $50. How does it say this, but it's not valued at that right now? And the answer then becomes you gotta wait. You gotta wait. It's still, there's still maturing that has to happen. There's still work that has to happen. There's still growth and partnership that has to happen. There's still conversations that have to happen. There's still networking that has to happen. There's still lessons that you have to go through. There's still things that you have to learn so that you can get to the space where you're able to maintain the capacity or the growth. You're able to receive the full value of the thing that you've been promised, the thing that you bought into, right? The thing that you walked into. A lot of us, especially trailblazers, we have a lot of like big vision and grandiose vision. And a lot of times we jump into and walk in things because of what we see that is going to take place, not necessarily because of what has taken place. But as we're going through that journey and we have to exercise our patience and things don't turn around as quickly as we wanted them to turn around, we can get challenged. We can feel like we've made a mistake, or we did something wrong, or this wasn't, you know, we messed up somewhere along the way. Or, you know, in the case of a relationship, we can feel like, what the hell did I do? Right? We can feel like those things in that space. But really, God is calling us to be consistent, to stay committed, and to continue the investment. And I think what happens is we can also get weary with well-doing. We can get tired with pouring out, with, you know, well, how long is this going to take? I had no idea, child, when I got that bond, that I would need to wait another 10, 11 years before it fully matured, especially because it was something that was given unto me. I didn't know all the details of it, you know, when I first got it. And God often does us like that. We don't know all of the details, right? We don't know everything that we're going to have to go through and experience before we get from point A to point Z. We don't know what that journey or what that process is like. And much like our relationships and our marriages, we don't know what things that we have to deal with within us. We don't know what areas we have to grow in. We don't know what areas our spouse has to grow in. We don't know what areas our children are going to need from us, and the things that are going to just come out of life We don't know what that process is going to look like for us, but we still have to trust and believe that that vision, that promise, that thing that we saw in the very beginning, that it is possible if we stay the course, right? And so I wanted to share that this morning or during this podcast, because it's like if you quit, it's almost like cashing out too soon. There was a whole $50 like that can be obtained in this. But if I stop short, if I don't wait till I get to its full maturity, if I decide to, pull out or to cash out, then I'm not even going to get half of the value, the potential value that's there. And I think this can be applied to so many things. That's why I'm like going back and forth between relationships and business, because sometimes we are not willing to put in the investment, y'all. We're not willing to put in the time. We're not willing to go the journey. We're not willing to go through the process, but the process is so necessary for us to fully mature and fully evolve and grow into the person that we've been called to be in the role we've been called to walk in. And so I just felt like I wanted to encourage somebody today. I mean, when I think about the way I felt when I sat in that bank and I was just like, okay, we're going to do this, put that with that. And then we got this, we're going to add this. And it was like, no, what? It was, I mean, it wasn't a bamboozled. It was kind of bamboozled, but I knew that no one had intentionally bamboozled me. It was just because of my ignorance, my lack of understanding of the process, my lack of understanding of the requirement, right? My lack of understanding of what I was going to need to do and what I was going to need to invest and put in order to allow this thing to be the vision that the person that gave it to me had, and the vision that I had, having been the receiver of it, right? And I think a lot of times we discount that work. We see things happening seemingly overnight, and we want that bond to be at its $50 value overnight. And that's just not how life works. And I love that I'm using the comparison, because it's not only is that not how life works when it comes to savings bonds, but it's also not how life works when it comes to businesses. It's also not how life works when it comes to relationships. We can't rush certain processes, although we may want to, right? And when I'm talking about processes, like maybe I've caught a vision. Maybe I've seen the vision, right? But maybe my husband hasn't seen that vision just yet. I see it. It's clear. I'm running towards it. I'm doing, but the process that he needs to get to that same place, to be running at the same tenacity for that particular vision, he hasn't arrived at yet. He hasn't gone through the process that he needs to go through to be at that vision, so we can be operating at the same level at the same time. And that's something that maybe I had not expected, but it's still a part of the overall process. I guarantee you that while he is developing to a place of seeing the vision the same way, there's something that God is doing in me. There's something that he's working on me, probably my patience, right? Probably my patience, probably my level of empathy, probably my level of understanding, so that now I know how to communicate it in different ways to different people who are at different levels of belief or understanding, right? So there is things that need to take place. And oftentimes we are expecting the result to be immediate, the result to happen right then and there. And it was just a clear reminder to me that there is a maturing process. There is a maturing process. It doesn't mean that the vision or that the promise is canceled out. It doesn't mean that it's not going to get there. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. It just means that there's a journey to get to that space. And y'all, we got to respect the journey. We have to respect the journey. We have to embrace the journey. Um, and we have to know that if we quit too soon, we'll never fully get the the full value that was originally designed for us to have. And so I just wanted to encourage you this morning that I keep saying this morning because it's morning for me, like it's real early this morning, but whenever you're listening to this, I just want to really encourage you not to quit, not to quit, that there is a value in whatever it is that you're doing, that that original dream and that original vision that you have seen, that it is still possible, it is still going to happen, but you may need to give yourself grace, operate in a level of patience and understanding that the journey or the process is really the destination. The vision, like you can see the vision. I'm gonna go back to the $50. I can see the $50. I can see what I'm going for in this savings bond. But what God needed for me and really wanted me to experience and to have was the journey or the process to get there. Because I can almost guarantee you, child, that when the thing matured to $50, I'll be ready to move on to the next thing. I'm gonna be like, all right, now I need $200. Now I need $300. And that's how we work. So when we get the vision, when we get the thing, it's great for the moment. And then we're moving on to the next thing we're looking to achieve and we're looking to accomplish. So it was to some degree about the vision or the dream or the goal, but really for God, it's about the process and the journey for us to get there, right? And so we have to honor that. We have to honor that. It's coming, girl. It's coming. It's coming. That dream, that vision, it's coming. You just got to stay the course and you got to trust the process. You got to trust your Lord. You got to trust and allow yourself to have grace and embrace the journey along the way. Have a great one.